A lot of times you think that winning that title is going to make you happy. You should already be happy. The happiness comes from just doing what you love. There are times where I would see pictures of myself on the podium, second or third place, and I'm like so bummed and down, and you know, like I look back on that now, it's like, man, my mind was such in the wrong place. It's for fun, you know. Obviously, you want to win, you go there to win, but I feel like I had to prove myself that I wasn't just a one-time world champion. Like I was not just the best that year, but that I was one of the best of my generation, that I could win multiple times. And I felt like I had to prove that, you know, to myself and to others, and put my name down for something else, another history that I made, you know. That's what I was thinking about. More than anything else, I was thinking about the history instead of just being grateful and having the opportunity to compete and having a more pure outlook on it as I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna do my best, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna get better, and that's it, you know. And it doesn't make or break me. I'm already happy. Life is already great. That title doesn't change anything. People already know who I am and what I stand for. I don't need to prove myself anymore. And so that's the other thing with the martial arts, the true martial artist mindset. I feel you don't fight for any sort of specific reward necessarily, or to prove anything. It's just something that you love to do. Whenever I started training, even Jiu-Jitsu, we didn't know that there was world championship tournaments. We didn't know that you could, you know, be a world champion in Jiu-Jitsu. The first worlds hadn't even happened yet. There was no UFC whenever I was beginning to train. My father didn't start training because of that, because he wanted to make fighters. It's not about becoming a fighter or beating up somebody or winning a medal. He had a passion for learning.
Okay, youngster. Come on. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Let's go.
Well, first of all, I consider myself a lifelong student of the martial arts. I don't like it when people bow to me or call me master. I put my pants on just like any other man. And I personally don't like that word, especially for me, because I realize how much, or rather how little, I know. I began at 9 years old. I grew up in Chicago on the southwest side, right in the city, right in the very midst of violence, gang violence, racial violence, and I started martial arts out of necessity. And I've trained in just about every martial art out there. I've been exposed to it, and I know about some of the greats. I've been fortunate to train with many of the greats in martial arts. But I'll never forget when I first became acquainted with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu through the Machado brothers. I saw the way they moved and that refined movement and the finesse of the submissions in Jiu-Jitsu, and I realized I have got to do that.
We knew that close quarter clinching range of combat was very important. And, you know, we had some techniques in there, but it was really, really raw, very raw. You know, he started making the journey from Oklahoma to California to train with the Gracies. First, it was the Gracie Academy in Torrance. Then it moved to Hickson. He started training with Hickson at one of the following Jeet Kune Do instructor conferences. They had the Machado brothers there. You know, the Machado brothers taught Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris wanted one of the Machado brothers to be with him in Texas. And so he brought Carlos to Dallas. And Carlos's very first school was inside I believe it was Channel 9. studio where they filmed Walker, Texas Ranger. My father, from there just started going down to Dallas and training with Carlos. Obviously, Dallas is way closer to Oklahoma City than California. He had a routine of driving down every Thursday morning to do a private lesson, train in the morning class right after, and then hit the road and drive right back and then teach that night. He did that every Thursday for like 3 or 4 years. I would go down there and stay a week on like spring break or Christmas break, learn as much as I could, and come back and teach him and keep him updated with what I saw and what I learned while I was away, because that's pretty much how we did it. If he went somewhere, he would come back and teach me what he learned, and we would drill it, we would work on it. I would do the same thing. I'd have notebooks writing down everything that I learned. I have all these questions prepared before I even went. Take turns. I'd ask, and get my questions answered, come back, and then just drill and work everything with my father, go over it. We'd spend the next month or whatever just, working on everything that was in our notebooks. Everything that we learned, we had to work so hard for. It wasn't like we just showed up, drove 10 minutes, and we were there with a world champion black belt every day, like what so many people are blessed to have now. Everything that we learned, we had to go through so much sacrifice to get that information. And fast forward, years later, right after I turned 21, I received my black belt. My father received his black belt the year before, and we became the first American father and son Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts. My father was the first black belt in the state here in Oklahoma, and we've gone on to make a lot of history.
About the over here? No, when you're mounted, you have the hand in, and I was here about climbing over this arm like a triangle.
Yeah, because I like to go for the mounted triangle a lot of times.
How do you do it without not letting?
What I do is if they start to do that, I come up and I squeeze. You see how I'm squeezing that elbow in. And if they throw it around, then it throws it into the triangle. But that's how I always squeeze.
To me, a true martial artist is someone who constantly seeks knowledge, who is always trying to learn, always sees himself as a student, and they're also a teacher. It's not just about them. It's about giving back and sharing everything that they've learned, everything that they've discovered in their own journey. They try to give back and share to the next person. Martial arts gives you more or less a blueprint for how to live your life, for how to think, how to react to the problems that we face. Martial arts is problem solving, and you can apply all those same principles into your everyday life.
I believe the first contact I had with Lovato was exactly when he won his first Brazilian title on my back. On the finals, it was amazing because he came out to Brazil, I still lived there back then, and then just comes this guy and just whoop everybody's ass. I'm like, come on,
know how intimidating I was before we ever talked. I didn't know how nice of a guy he was. I only saw him throwing, and the year before he dismantled Braulio and Damien. I was like, oh my gosh, now I gotta fight this guy. I saw him pick Hajar up in the air like that. Man.
But again, guys, it's great. One of the great things that I take from it is we have years and years and years of battling, aside each other and against each other. But again, there's nothing but a huge respect, for him, and everything he represents for Jiu-Jitsu. We love one thing called Jiu-Jitsu, Of course, every one of us have our own flags, but there's one huge thing between us that we love called Jiu-Jitsu, yeah? So, that's what I'm here for. Guy's a great friend. I want to thank all of you guys for coming for welcome us here. Lovato, once again, brother, thank you for coming by and giving us so much information.
Jiu-Jitsu gives you so much. For me, I think the biggest benefit of Jiu-Jitsu is the family that you're going to receive. How life-changing that is, because you might meet your best friend in there. We've actually had students that, male and female, that have met and became husband and wife, meeting through Jiu-Jitsu. it's impossible to be a jerk. You're going to learn and change, or you're going to leave and quit because you couldn't handle it. So anyone that stands the test of time, if they're not already a great person, they're going to be, because you get humbled. You know, you have to learn how to overcome all your personal issues and be vulnerable and open yourself up to, you know, critiquing yourself and figuring out, you know, where I need to grow. You're going to have to get over all that really quick. I really like to stress the fact that it's martial arts. You know, the word art. This is art. And we are creatively expressing ourselves through movement. And we are in total control of how we want to move, how we want to look when we move, how we want it to feel. You know, all that is in our hands.
I think this is the future of he's the future of martial artists. What they do, how they move, the complexity of them, the full roundedness of them. This is the new generation of fighter, and I feel like what I'm doing is the new generation of movement.
And so just that constant creativity and ability to express yourself through movement, it's that escape from your day-to-day life. It's your sort of built-in vacation without having to fly anywhere. You walk in the doors and boom, you get hit with all that positive energy, all your friends, and so whatever you're feeling already starts to get, okay, yeah, oh, it feels good to be here. You start smiling, you start talking to everybody, and then you begin to move.
Rafael is an example. He's got to see the connection between wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kicking, striking, you know, with hands, boxing. He's got to see all of that come together in a single flash of a moment when he's fighting. The IQ that it takes for him to do what he does is tremendous. And so you really do need to understand exactly how all this is coming together in a related manner, so that it is not fragmented. It is not just bits and pieces. It's an ongoing dialogue with us. I feel bad sometimes for our wives and girlfriends who are sitting at the table, because we're just on a constant stream of conversation around this, and they're like, okay, because we're, you know, it's all we talk about. It's all that's on our mind all the time. But that ongoing conversation is just it runs through our veins. It's just who, you know, we are, lifelong martial artists. It's all we've ever done. We don't have. We were saying this the other night. We don't have other jobs. We're not going to fall back and become bankers if this doesn't work out. So, you know, this is it. You know, this is everything we do. We live it. We breathe it. And we're nerds. We're geeks. You know, this is we love it. You know, so I'm grateful to be here.
When you're really training, you get lost, right? You're only thinking about your movements and what you're trying to achieve, what they're trying to do to you, how you're going to defend it, how you're going to get them into your best positions, your game, set them up. You know, if you're really playing the chess game, then you're thinking about the traps and the baits. You know, are they going to go here? All their possible reactions, and you know, you start thinking multiple moves ahead, and you're not thinking about what you have to do tomorrow anymore. You know, or whatever stress is in your head. You are 100% in a mind-body connection. You know, it's just your mind and your movements, and that's it. And it's completely connected.
Every time I'm on the mat with him, I'm always learning now from him. You know, where did you get that? How are you doing this? And so it's so much fun, especially the fact that he's my son. But I have to say, in spite of all his titles and all his accomplishments on the mat, what I'm most proud of is him as a person, as a man. He's humble, he's respectful, he doesn't brag or boast. He's very, very unassuming about that. You almost have to prod it out of him what he's done, and that makes me the most proud of him. That's his character and his humility. That's what makes me more proud than anything else.
You know, what I want to represent inside the cage in the MMA world is that mindset of a true martial artist. And so that's why I talk about it. That's why I hashtag it. You know, for me, 100%, my father is the truest example of a true martial artist. And so that's the other thing, you know, understanding my journey and why I'm in the cage. today, it's because of him, 100%. I'm trying to carry on what he taught me, and so, you know, he's the number one.